Action cameras are cheaper than ever. Nowadays, you really don't need a GoPro if you want pretty decent action-style shots. And this is true with the majority of action cameras pretty much out there on the market. It's just a lot of different options that even just a couple of years ago, we didn't really have, and it was a bit of a disappointment. But now, there are just so many answers to GoPro, and they finally have some competition. And folks over at Crosstour reached out to me and decided to send over one of their most recent products. This is going to be the CT8500 model. And it's actually quite the beast. So long story short, this camera shoots in 4K. It's got built-in stabilization, pretty much comes with all the accessories that you would be needing, and most importantly, it's only around 60 bucks. Let's dive in. The boxing here is going to be pretty simple. Everything looked very neatly organized before I came around and tore it all apart. But inside, you'll find the camera itself with its waterproof case and separate box with a ton of different mounts, extra batteries, and even a lavalier microphone. This was actually a rather surprising unboxing session. The exterior of this camera is going to consist of plastic for the vast majority of the build. That is going to account for the front, even the edgings around the corners, including the screen. Everything about it is going to be plastic, and as a result, it makes this camera extremely lightweight. It's incredibly small, and it's got itself a fixed lens around the front. Now, this isn't going to be a complaint by any means. I just wanted to bring that up, and you can't exactly complain since this product is so unbelievably cheap. And as for buttons and ports, on the front you're going to find yourself with the power button that also doubles as your mode button, and this is what you're going to use in order to access all of your menus. And the shutter button all the way on top is going to be your OK button as well. On the sides you're going to find a couple of navigation buttons, and they only go up and down really. And then on the other side you're going to find yourself with a micro SD card slot, a micro USB port, a micro HDMI port, and a 2.5mm microphone port. And then at the bottom, you're just going to find a slot for the battery. And you do still get some flexibility with this camera when it comes to its usage. You've got the option to shoot in different resolutions and frame rates with it, the highest being 4K at 30 frames per second. And the stabilization is only active at 2.7K, and there's only one setting for the lens, and it's at wide, so no linear mode here. You can take pictures with it too, if you wanted to, but I'm pretty much exclusively a video guy. And speaking of video, this camera actually shot pretty decent footage. I was very surprised with it, as a matter of fact. As on the screen itself, things are going to look extremely blown out. This is not going to be a very great screen for when it comes to monitoring the actual performance and accuracy of the look that this camera will be capturing. It's only when you bring it into post that you can actually see what you did, and that is worth noting. However, in terms of performance, you obviously have a very wide lens here, and it's going to give you a little bit of distortion, or just a little bit of that fisheye effect that you might get with something like the GoPro and stuff like that. But this camera can capture a lot, and the majority of the time, it tends to keep everything in focus, and it's pretty good. It doesn't tend to lose focus at all, really. And since the stabilization available at lower resolutions, that means that in 4K, your footage might look a little bit shaky, just depending on what you're using with it. And there's pretty noticeable warping, a rolling shutter, and a couple of cases. I should bring that up too. However, in terms of video performance, I was incredibly surprised with this camera, and it performed exceptionally well, in my opinion, just considering how much it costs. This is a great value already. Battery life is also pretty decent here. I've never actually killed any of the batteries, as I don't really have to use these for many hours at a time. However, I always like to leave my batteries charging overnight, just so that I'm always prepared. So it's never really been an issue for me. And I think that battery life is really just fine here. However, I did have a couple of complaints that I would appreciate if they got addressed with a later model, and I'd be willing to spend a little bit more in order to get a couple of these features that I'm about to bring up. A touchscreen would really be a pretty nice addition for navigation, and a glass screen would also be nicer. I'd like to see more heft for this model too, it's just to add that extra layer of security to it. Also, while I do appreciate having that microphone port, I would love to see a 3.5mm entry instead of a 2.5 one in the future. And menu navigation here is also going to be pretty clunky, for the most part, as you've only really got 2 buttons to go sideways and up and down, and the only way to actually switch between the different menus is through the mode button. And it could just become a bit of a hassle at times, but really, in terms of complaints, that's really it. I'm going to admit here that I was definitely nitpicking at this camera with those complaints, considering that this is just a $60 product. And for 60 bucks, it offers way too much, and it's an incredible value. If you're starting off with action cameras, then honestly, I would look no further, as you still have pretty decent 4K footage, a ton of ports for it, and most importantly, pretty much every accessory that you would ever need for it included in the box. So overall, seriously, this is too good of a value to pass up at this price tag. Highly recommended. And if you're interested in purchasing this camera, then I will be making sure to leave links in the description. Make sure to follow me on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Twitch if you like me enough. I'd like to see you over there as well. With that said, this has been Francisco from Tech Summit. Thank you for watching, and I'll be seeing you all later. Enjoy.